What if the most famous person in the world felt like the loneliest? What if all the applause and all the gold records couldn't fill a space left empty at birth? Did he ever get over the death of his mother, the one person he trusted completely? When Elvis Presley sang about a broken heart, was he just an actor playing a part, or was he laying his own soul bare for millions to hear? Number 22, what happens when the voice is all that's left? On June 21st, 1977, less than 2 months before he died, Elvis Presley sat down at a piano in front of a television camera in Rapid City, South Dakota. He was overweight, he was sweating, he was clearly unwell. His band, used to his unpredictable stage presence, watched him closely. He wasn't supposed to be playing the piano. But he started to play. He began to sing Unchained Melody. The song had been a hit for the Righteous Brothers more than a decade earlier. But on this night, it wasn't a cover. It was a confession. When he reached the line, "I need your love," it wasn't a request. It was a desperate final plea. His voice, though strained by his physical condition, soared. It was pure, powerful, and filled with a pain that was almost unbearable to witness. The performance was captured for a TV special, Elvis in Concert. CBS executives were reportedly shocked by his appearance and considered shelving the project. They aired it in October after his death. The footage remains one of an artist's most vulnerable and heartbreaking public moments. This wasn't the rock and roller anymore. This was a man clinging to the one gift that had never failed him, his voice. He poured every last ounce of his spirit into it. The song is about a lover longing for a touch, but in Elvis's hands, it became about a man longing for life itself. He was isolated by his fame, by his entourage, by his own choices. That night, the only thing he seemed able to connect with was the music. And through the music, he was begging for a connection to anything or anyone that could save him. It's a performance of raw, unfiltered loss. The loss of youth, the loss of health, the loss of control. He was losing everything, but he still had that voice. And he used it to tell the world how much he was hurting. Number 21, Can a Song Physically Hurt You? The song Hurt was not written by or for Elvis. It was written in 1954 and had been a hit for singer Timmy Euro in 1961. But when Elvis recorded it in February 1976, he made it his own. He possessed it. The sessions at Graceland's Jungle Room were intense. He sang with such force and anguish that he strained his voice. The final recorded version ends with a dramatic operatic flourish where he holds a high note with astonishing power before falling to the floor in a mock collapse. It was theater, yes, but it was rooted in something real. On stage, the performance was even more visceral. During a show in March 1976, he invested so much physical and emotional energy into the final note that he reportedly gave himself a severe muscle strain. He had to be helped off the stage. The line, "I'm so hurt to think that you lied to me," is simple, but Elvis doesn't sing it simply. He bellows it. It's an accusation. It's the cry of a man who feels profoundly betrayed. Who was he singing to? A former lover. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, who controlled his life so completely. His own body, which was beginning to fail him. Maybe it was all of them. The song is a catalog of pain. I'm so hurt, much more than you'll ever know. The performance was a physical manifestation of that pain. He wasn't just singing about being hurt, he was hurting himself in the act of singing. He was transforming emotional agony into a physical event. This was not the boy who sang "That's All Right." This was a 41-year-old man who had seen the heights of adoration and the depths of personal despair. And he was using this old torch song to exorcise demons. The regret here is raw. It's the regret of trusting someone you shouldn't have. It's the pain of realizing a love or a loyalty was not returned in kind, and the sheer sonic power of his performance leaves no doubt about the depth of that wound. Number 20, if you've had a few regrets, does that make it okay? Frank Sinatra made My Way his anthem. It was a defiant, self-assured declaration of a life lived without compromise. When Elvis performed it, the feeling was different. He didn't record a studio version until 1973 for the Aloha from Hawaii special, and he rarely performed it live. When he did, the line regrets, "I've had a few landed with a different weight." Sinatra sings it like a man brushing off a minor inconvenience. Or Elvis sings it with a weary sigh. It sounds less like a boast and more like a heavy admission. For a man who lost his twin at birth, who lost his mother at 23, who lost his marriage, and who felt he'd lost control of his own artistic destiny, the regrets were not few. They were many, and they were profound. He regretted not being with his mother when she died. He regretted the years of making formulaic movies when he wanted to be a serious actor. He told friends he regretted not being able to walk down the street like a normal person. He regretted the toll his life took on his marriage to Priscilla. The song, written by Paul Anka, is about looking back at the end of a life. For Elvis in the 1970s, the end must have felt closer than it should have. His version isn't triumphant, it's mournful. There's a deep sadness running through it. When he sings, "I Did It My Way," it sounds less like a celebration and more like a defense. It's as if he's trying to convince himself, as much as the audience, that the choices he made were the only ones he could have. But the regret in that one line hangs in the air. It's the sound of a man who knows the path he took came at a great cost. And he wasn't entirely sure if it was worth it. The bravado of the lyrics is undercut by the sorrow in his voice. Number 19, What's Heavier Than a Mountain? In 1972, Elvis's life was falling apart. His separation from Priscilla was official. He missed his daughter, Lisa Marie, terribly. He felt adrift. He found a song written by Marty Robbins that perfectly captured his sense of overwhelming despair. The song was You Gave Me a Mountain. Elvis turned it into a centerpiece of his live shows. It was a towering, dramatic performance that allowed him to vent his frustrations. The key line is simple and direct. But this time, Lord, you gave me a mountain I may never climb. The song lists a series of hardships born in the heat of a desert, working his fingers to the bone, being lied to and cheated. But each of those was manageable. The mountain was different. For Elvis, the mountain was the loss of his family. He had built his entire world, his entire identity around being a provider and a family man. Graceland was for his mother. His success was for his family. When his own marriage ended and he was separated from his child, it felt like a failure that dwarfed all his successes. On stage, he would pour every ounce of frustration and pain into this song. It was his personal drama played out for thousands. The regret is palpable. It's the regret of a man who feels he has lost the one thing that truly mattered. He could conquer the world of music, but he couldn't conquer the breakdown of his own home. The performance was a plea for sympathy, for understanding. He was telling the audience, and perhaps God, that this burden was too much to bear. The song connected his personal pain to a larger, almost biblical sense of suffering. He wasn't just a man with problems. He was a man facing an insurmountable obstacle, and the raw power of his voice made you believe it. Number 18, How Do You Say Goodbye When You Still Care? The song Separate Ways was recorded in March 1972. Elvis and Priscilla had separated just a few months earlier. The song was co-written by Red West, a longtime member of Elvis's inner circle who witnessed the painful breakdown of the marriage firsthand. The lyrics aren't poetic or metaphorical. They are brutally, painfully direct. And the line that cuts the deepest is the simplest. It's time we go our separate ways. It's delivered not with anger, but with a profound and heavy sadness. It's a statement of fact, a conclusion that has been reached after much pain. The song is a conversation, a quiet agreement between two people who know it's over. We can't go on pretending day by day. The regret here is not for a single mistake, but for the entire unraveling of a relationship. It's the regret that love, no matter how strong it once was, wasn't enough to hold things together. Elvis's performance is remarkably restrained. There are no vocal theatrics. He sings it softly with a tremble in his voice. He sounds defeated. This isn't the king of rock and roll. This is a husband and a father watching his family dissolve. The B-side to this single was Always on My Mind, creating one of the most emotionally devastating 1-2 punches in music history. One side explains the sad reality of the breakup, the other explains the regret that will follow. Separate Ways is the sound of heartbreak in real time. It was recorded when the wound was still fresh. You can hear a man trying to be mature, trying to do the right thing while his heart is breaking. It's the quiet regret of an ending that nobody wanted, but everyone knew was necessary. Number 17, What If I Should Have, is All You Have Left. Recorded just weeks after his separation from Priscilla, Always on My Mind is perhaps the ultimate song of regret in the Elvis catalog. The song had been recorded by others before, but Elvis's version, cut in March 1972, is the one that defines it. The opening lines are a direct admission of failure. Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. It's a confession. It's an apology. It's a man looking back and seeing all the moments he let slip by, all the times he failed to show his love. The song is not an excuse. It's an explanation born of hindsight. You were always on my mind. He's saying the love was there, even if his actions didn't always show it. This is the regret of neglect, the regret of taking someone for granted. For Elvis, a man living in a bubble of fame, surrounded by yes men, constantly on the road or on a movie set, it was easy to become disconnected from the normal rhythms of a relationship. The song is a stark acknowledgement of that. He didn't bring her flowers. He didn't say the right words. He was too busy being Elvis Presley. And now, in the quiet aftermath of the breakup, the weight of those small daily failures comes crashing down. His vocal is tender and vulnerable. There's a deep ache in his voice. He's not trying to win her back. He's just trying to explain his own heart, perhaps for the first time. The song became an anthem for anyone who has ever looked back on a failed relationship and thought, if only I had done things differently. For Elvis, it was a public expression of a very private sorrow. Number 16, Can You Be Trapped by Your Own Legend. In January 1969, Elvis walked into American Sound Studio in Memphis. He hadn't recorded in his hometown in 14 years. He was trying to reclaim his artistic soul after a decade of making bad movies. The producer, Chips Moman, pushed him. He gave him gritty, soulful material. One of the first songs they cut was Suspicious Minds. It's a song about a love affair poisoned by mistrust. The line, "We're caught in a trap, I can't walk out," is one of the most famous in his catalog. He sings it with a frantic, desperate energy. On the surface, it's about a relationship. But for Elvis, it was about so much more. He was caught in a trap. The trap of his own fame, the trap of his contract with Colonel Parker, which dictated so much of his career, the trap of the image of Elvis, which prevented him from being just a man. He couldn't walk out. Where would he go? The song builds to a frantic, almost chaotic climax. The tempo changes, the background vocals swirl. It's the sound of someone panicking, someone feeling the walls close in. The regret here is the regret of lost freedom. He had all the money and fame in the world, but he couldn't go to the grocery store. He couldn't have a normal argument with his wife without it becoming gossip. He was a prisoner in a gilded cage. Suspicious Minds became his last #1 hit in the United States during his lifetime. It was a commercial triumph, but it was also a cry for help. It was the sound of a man suffocating, not just from a lack of trust in a relationship, but from the crushing weight of his own life. Number 15, What If You See Pain But Can't Stop It? Also from the legendary 1969 Memphis sessions, In the Ghetto was a radical departure for Elvis. It was a story song, a piece of social commentary about the cycle of poverty. It was a risk. Colonel Parker was against him recording it, thinking it was too political. Elvis insisted. The song tells the story of a boy born into poverty in Chicago who grows up angry and hungry, buys a gun, and is killed, just as another baby is born into the same hopeless situation. The most haunting line comes from the narrator. A helpless observer and his mama cries. It's a statement of fact, delivered with a quiet, somber empathy. And Elvis sings it with a deep sense of sorrow. He wasn't just telling a story, he was feeling it. Elvis himself grew up poor in Tupelo, Mississippi. He knew what it was like to struggle. The song is infused with a kind of survivor's guilt, a regret for a world that allows such things to happen. He is the observer, powerless to change the outcome. As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto. The song doesn't offer solutions, it just presents the tragedy. The regret is societal. It's the regret of a man who has achieved the American dream looking back at the people who are left behind. He can't save the boy in the song. All he can do is tell his story and bear witness to his mother's tears. It was one of the bravest and most important recordings of his career, a moment where he used his immense platform to sing about a loss that was bigger than his own personal heartaches. Number 14, How Far Would You Go to Get Home? Kentucky Rain, another masterpiece from the 1969 Memphis sessions, is a story of desperate, frantic searching. A man is walking and hitchhiking through a cold, driving rain, looking for a woman who left him after an argument. The song, written by Eddie Rabbitt and Dick Hurd, is cinematic. You can feel the cold, see the passing headlights. The emotional core of the song is in the line, Kentucky rain keeps pouring down, and I'm drowning in a sea of heartache and pain. The regret here is sharp and immediate. It's the regret of saying something stupid, of letting pride get in the way, of causing someone you love to walk out the door. Now, he's paying the price, suffering physically and emotionally to find her and make it right. Elvis's performance is a tour de force. He starts with a low, mournful tone and builds to a powerful, pleading climax. The piano, played by Ronnie Milsap, mimics the sound of the pouring rain. The production is lush, but Elvis's voice cuts right through it. He makes you feel the man's desperation. You believe he has been walking for days. You believe he is soaked to the bone. This isn't just a song about a lost love, it's a song about the frantic, punishing journey to undo a mistake. The landscape of the Kentucky rain becomes a landscape of his own regret. He is literally walking through his sorrow, hoping to find redemption on the other side. It's a powerful expression of how a single moment of anger can lead to a long and painful road of remorse. Number 13, Can a Father's Grief Be Passed Down? Don't Cry Daddy was a massive hit for Elvis at the end of 1969. On the surface, it's a simple, sentimental song about a widower whose children are comforting him, reminding him that he still has them and their mommy is okay. The line spoken by the child, "You've still got me and little brother, isn't that enough?" is heartbreaking. But for Elvis, the song had a much deeper, more painful resonance. His mother, Gladys, had died in 1958 at the age of 46. It was the central tragedy of his life. He never fully recovered from it. When he sang Don't Cry Daddy, he wasn't just playing the part of the father in the song. He was also the child. He was the one who had lost his mother. The song is a complex tapestry of loss. The regret is that of a father who can't hide his grief from his children. But for Elvis, it taps into the much deeper regret of a son who lost his mother too soon. He felt an intense connection to her, and her death left a void that fame, money, and family could never fill. The performance is gentle and sad. There is a quiet pain in his delivery that goes beyond the simple sentiment of the lyrics. He is channeling his own grief. The song became a duet of sorts with his own past. He was both the comforter and the one who needed comforting. It's a profound expression of how loss echoes through generations, how a parent's sorrow is felt by a child, and how a child's loss can haunt them into adulthood. Number 12 is Loneliness Louder in a Crowd. This is one of his most iconic performances, but the song itself dates back to 1926. Elvis recorded Are You Lonesome Tonight in 1960, shortly after leaving the army. It's famous for the spoken word bridge, a dramatic monologue adapted from Shakespeare. The line that encapsulates the whole feeling of the song is the question itself, are you lonesome tonight? He's not just asking a former lover, he's asking the listener. He's asking himself. Elvis was surrounded by people constantly. The Memphis Mafia, his band, his fans. But he often spoke of a deep, profound loneliness. He was a man set apart. No one could truly understand his reality. The song is filled with the regret of a failed relationship. The stage is bare and I'm standing there with emptiness all around. This perfectly describes his life. The show is over, the applause has faded, and he's left alone with his thoughts. In a famous lawing version from a 1969 Las Vegas show, he gets the giggles during the spoken part and can't finish it straight. It's a moment of levity. But it also reveals the artifice of the performance. He was playing a part. The part of the lonely lover. But the part was so close to the reality that sometimes, maybe, the only way to get through it was to laugh. The original recording, however, is pure melancholy. It's the sound of a man in an empty room talking to ghosts. It's the ultimate expression of the paradox of his life, the most loved man in the world, wondering if anyone was truly there for him. Number 11, Where Do You Go When Your Heart Is Broken? Before he was the king of rock and roll, Elvis was a boy singing gospel music in church. That music was the bedrock of his entire career. It was his comfort and his refuge. In 1960, he recorded the album His Hand in Mine, a collection of gospel standards. On the song, Where Could I Go But to the Lord? He sings with a raw, pleading voice. The title is a statement of desperate faith. When all earthly comfort fails, where else is there to turn? The song speaks of a life filled with sorrow and turmoil. My life is a wasting. My soul is cast down. This is not the language of pop music. This is the language of spiritual despair. For Elvis, loss was a constant companion. He lost his twin brother, Jesse Garon, at birth. This primal loss shaped his entire existence. He often spoke of feeling like a part of him was always missing. Then, the loss of his mother broke his spirit. The regret in his gospel music is not about romantic mistakes. It's deeper. It's a spiritual ache. It's the regret of a soul struggling in a fallen world. When he sings these songs, the artifice of Elvis the entertainer falls away. You hear the boy from Tupelo finding solace in the only way he knows how. The song is a powerful reminder that beneath the gold lame and the jumpsuits was a man wrestling with profound questions of life, death, and meaning. His earthly losses were so great that he had to look for comfort somewhere beyond this world. Number 10, Can a Hotel Room Be a Prison? Heartbreak Hotel was Elvis's first million-selling single for RCA in 1956. It was unlike anything else on the radio. It was dark, bluesy, and full of despair. The lyrics were inspired by a newspaper story about a man who had destroyed his identity papers and left a note that simply said, "I walk a lonely street." The song imagines a place where all the broken-hearted people go. The line that sets the grim scene is at the end of Lonely Street at Heartbreak Hotel. The hotel is a final destination. It's a place you check into, but never leave. The regret here is so deep it leads to a kind of emotional death. The characters in the hotel are so lonely they could die. For a 21-year-old to sing with such world-weary despair was shocking. He recorded it with a heavy, cavernous echo, making his voice sound like it was coming from a huge, empty room. It's the sound of isolation. Even though the song was a commercial smash, it announced a theme that would run through his entire career, a profound sense of loneliness. He was just on the cusp of a level of fame that would isolate him from the rest of the world forever. In a way, he was predicting his own future. He would spend much of his life in hotel rooms, palaces of loneliness, cut off from normal life. Heartbreak Hotel was the blueprint for a lifetime of singing about loss. It established that his voice could carry not just joy and rebellion, but also a deep and abiding sorrow. Number 9, What If Love Is Just a Lie? Love Me Tender, the title song from his first film in 1956, is often seen as a simple, sweet ballad. But there's a deep melancholy at its core. The melody is adapted from the Civil War era song Ora Leia. It carries a sense of old world sorrow. The plea, love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill, is gentle. But it's the following line that holds the seed of regret. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. It's a promise, a vow, but love is fragile. Promises get broken. Elvis sings it with a heartbreaking sincerity. He believes it completely in the moment, but the history of popular music and of life itself is littered with the wreckage of such promises. The regret is perspective. It's the fear of this perfect moment of love being lost. The song is a prayer against a future heartbreak. When you listen to it, knowing the course of Elvis's own lifelight, the marriage that would end, the loves that would fade them, the song takes on a tragic dimension. It's a sound of youthful hope, a hope that would eventually be battered by the realities of life. He sang it with a pure, clean voice, a voice not yet ravaged by time and pain. But the sadness is there, inherent in the old melody. It's a beautiful dream of a love that will last forever, and the quiet regret is the knowledge that such dreams rarely come true. Number 8, When Does a Blue Moon Turn Black? One of Elvis's most haunting early recordings was his 1954 Sun Records version of Blue Moon. The song, written by Rodgers and Hart, is usually a romantic ballad. But Elvis's version is something else entirely. He sings it in a high ethereal falsetto, like a ghost wailing in the night. The lyrics tell of a lonely person wishing on the moon for someone to love. When that love finally appears, the blue moon turns to gold. But Elvis's performance focuses almost entirely on the loneliness before the love arrives. The key line is simple, and then there suddenly appeared before me the only one my arms would ever hold. He sings it, but the ghostly atmosphere of the recording makes it feel unreal, like a dream that will vanish at dawn. The regret here is for all the lonely nights, for the time spent waiting. Producer Sam Phillips created a spooky, slapback echo that makes Elvis sound like he's singing alone in a vast, empty space. There's no band, just his voice and his acoustic guitar. It's one of his most experimental and atmospheric recordings. Oh, it's the sound of pure, unadulterated loneliness. It's a cry in the dark. Even when the lyrics turn happy, the mood of the performance doesn't. It's as if the singer is so used to being alone that he can't quite believe his good fortune. The song captures a feeling of isolation so profound that even the arrival of love can't completely erase it. Number 7, how do you stop the past from bleeding into the present? Mari's The Name Is Latest Flame was a 1961 hit for Elvis. It has a driving, Bo Diddley beat and sounds like a classic rock and roll song. But the story it tells is one of bitter betrayal and regret. The singer runs into an old friend and asks about his old girlfriend, Marie. The friend breaks the news that Marie is now his new fiancée. The killer line is delivered with a kind of stunned disbelief, though I smiled. The tears inside were burning. It's a song about putting on a brave face while your world collapses. The upbeat tempo of the music is a mask for the pain in the lyrics. This is the regret of losing someone and having to pretend you're okay with it. You have to shake the hand of the man who took your place. You have to wish them well. It's, a song about social grace in the face of personal devastation. Elvis sings it with a cool detachment that perfectly captures the feeling of emotional suppression. But you can hear the anger and hurt simmering just beneath the surface. It's a very adult kind of heartbreak. It's not about screaming and crying. It's about smiling while you're burning inside. It's the regret of knowing you have to accept a loss with dignity, even when it feels like a profound injustice. The song is a perfect example of how Elvis could infuse even a catchy rock song with a deep sense of emotional complexity and pain. Number 6, Can You Mourn a Life You Never Lived? The song If I Can Dream was the stunning finale to his 1968 comeback special. After years of making bland movies, this was his powerful return to live performance. The song was written specifically for the show, inspired by the recent assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. It's a passionate plea for a better world, for peace and understanding. The line that pierces the heart is a vision of a different reality. If I can dream of a better land, where all my brothers walk hand in hand. Elvis sings it with a raw, gospel-infused fervor. He is on his knees, sweating, his voice cracking with emotion. He is pouring every bit of his being into the song. The regret here is for the world as it is. It's a mourning for the potential of humanity that is lost to hatred and violence. But there is a personal layer too. Elvis was dreaming of a better land for himself, a land where he wasn't trapped by his fame. A land where he could be a serious actor, not a movie caricature. A land where his mother was still alive. A land where his twin brother had lived. When he sings this song, he is dreaming of all the lives he could have lived, all the possibilities that were closed off to him. The performance is electrifying because it's so real. He is not just singing lyrics, he is testifying. He is expressing a deep, personal, and universal longing for a world without so much pain and loss. Number 5, Is It Ever Really Over? It's Over was a 1964 ballad that showcased Elvis's incredible vocal range and power. It's a song about the final, painful moments of a breakup. The relationship is dead, and all that's left is to say goodbye. The song builds to a massive operatic climax on the line, "It's over." He sings it with a finality that is both powerful and tragic. It is the sound of a door slamming shut forever. The regret is for the end itself. The singer doesn't seem angry, just profoundly sad. He is watching his love walk away, and he is powerless to stop it. Your sweet lips are turning cold. The song charts the death of intimacy in real time. For Elvis, endings were always fraught with pain. The end of his time at Sun Records, the end of his time in the army, the end of his movie career, the end of his marriage. He was a man who felt lost deeply. This song is a perfect vehicle for that emotion. He sings it like an opera star, letting his voice soar to express a pain that is too big for ordinary words. The regret is absolute. There is no hope of reconciliation. There is only the cold, hard fact of the end. It's a performance of stunning vocal control and devastating emotional release. It is the definitive anthem for the moment you realize there is no going back. Number 4, what does a broken promise sound like? I'm Left, You're Right, She's Gone is a classic rockabilly track from his Sun Records days in 1955. It has the raw energy and sparse production of his best early work. The story is a classic love triangle. The singer's girl has left him for his best friend. The title itself is a clever play on words, but the emotional core is in the line, "But you've forgotten. You've forgotten all you told me." It's the sound of a young man grappling with a broken promise. He believed her when she said she loved him. He trusted her, and that trust has been shattered. The regret is that of a naive heart being broken for the first time. He sounds confused, hurt, and a little angry. His voice has a youthful yelp to it. This is the kind of pain that teaches you a hard lesson about life and love. You can hear the beginnings of the world weariness that would color his later work. Before Heartbreak Hotel, before the worldwide fame, he was a kid from Memphis singing about a girl who broke her word. It's a simple song about a simple betrayal, but in it, you can hear the seed of all the more complex losses and regrets that would follow. It's a reminder that before the mountains of pain, there was a single sharp stone in the road. Number 3, how do you comfort someone when you're hurting too? In the song, "I'll Be Home for Christmas," the singer promises to be home, but the final line reveals the sad truth, "If only in my dreams." Elvis recorded this in 1957 for his first Christmas album. He sings it with a beautiful, longing sadness. But there's another song on that album, a spoken word piece called "The First Knoll," where the regret is almost unbearable. No, that's not quite right. It's the song "Blue Christmas" that holds the real key. It's become a holiday standard, but it is a profoundly sad song. "I'll have a blue Christmas without you." He sings it with a kind of resigned sorrow. But let's look at a different, more obscure track. "Mama Liked the Roses," recorded in 1969. It's a sentimental song about remembering his mother Gladys. He speaks the lyrics more than he sings them. "Oh, Mama liked the roses, but she loved me most of all." The regret is overwhelming. It's the regret of a son who can only connect with his mother through memory. He is trying to comfort himself with these memories, but the comfort is tinged with the pain of her absence. He talks about how she would hold him and read the Bible. It's an intensely personal and vulnerable performance. He is sharing his private grief with the world. The song is a memorial, an attempt to keep her spirit alive. But in doing so, it only highlights the enormous void she left behind. It's the sound of a man who, even at the height of his fame, was still just a boy who missed his mom. Number 2, "Can You See Your Own Fate?" in "Tomorrow Never Comes," a song Elvis recorded in 1970. He sings about a love that is always promised but never arrives. The lover says, I love you, but also says they have to wait until tomorrow. The singer's despair is captured in the line, "Tomorrow never comes." It's a song about being strung along, about living on false hope. He sings it with a growing sense of desperation and frustration. The vocal performance is huge and dramatic. He is begging for a love that is present and real, not just a future possibility. The regret is for the wasted time, for the emotional energy spent on a promise that will never be fulfilled. But the line has a deeper, more chilling resonance for Elvis's own life. He was always looking toward a future where things would be different. A future where he'd make better movies. A future where he'd tour the world. A future where he'd get healthy. But for him, that tomorrow never came. He was trapped in the present by his contracts, his lifestyle, and his own habits. The song is a tragic, unintentional prophecy. He is singing about a lover who won't commit, but he could just as easily be singing about his own life, a life full of deferred dreams and missed opportunities. It's the sound of a man realizing that waiting for the future can be a way of letting the present slip through your fingers. Number one, was he alone from the very beginning? On January 8th, 1935, in a small two-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi, Gladys Presley gave birth to twin boys. The first, Jesse Garon, was stillborn. The second, Elvis Aaron, survived. This event, this primal loss, was the foundational story of Elvis's life. You know, he grew up as a surviving twin with a sense of a missing other, a shadow companion. He talked to his brother in his prayers. He felt a connection to a soul he never knew. This loss permeates his entire catalog, even if it's never mentioned directly. It's the source of the deep, inconsolable loneliness that you hear in Are You Lonesome Tonight? It's the root of the spiritual searching in his gospel music. It's the void that he tried to fill with applause, with food, with everything. There isn't a single line from a song that can capture this. Instead, the most profound line is one that was never sung. It's the unspoken question that hangs over every note of loss he ever recorded. What if he had lived? The regret was not his own, but it was the one he carried his entire life. The regret of a life that never was. A brother he never knew, a bond that was severed before it could be formed. Every song of heartbreak, every cry of pain, every expression of loneliness can be traced back to that first day. He spent his life as a solo act, but he was born to be a duet. That is the ultimate loss that permeates the Elvis Presley catalog. The loss of a life that was supposed to be shared right from the very first breath.